With advancements in AI technology, we have the opportunity and the ability to create content faster and cheaper than ever before. But does that mean we should? Let's talk about it with Impact's AI expert, Briana Walgenbach. How's it going, Briana?
Hey, Austin, it's going pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing great. Good to see you as always. We have some questions about AI, and I know you've been keeping a close eye on AI and everything it can do. Just how incredible is generative AI, and is it something that could end up replacing a content writer for a business right now?
Yeah, that is a big topic of discussion. And if you remember, a little over a year ago, in the wave of ChatGPT first becoming, part of our everyday life, that was the big fear, the big worry, concern that not only content writers, but videographers alike, generally speaking, were raising their hands being like, shoot, is my job going to be obsolete? What does this look like? And as an individual who works very closely with content writers and videographers, I was hearing this on like a daily basis. And that fear, while it is a little lessened now, I don't think that topic is off the table for discussion. And this is what I mean by that, because Austin, I have noticed as an individual who helps companies hire writers, we are seeing some AI generated content, even in the interview process. And we're not alone in that. I feel certain in saying that is happening, in a variety of industries all around. And I'll share a story with you, as we did have a client recently who hired a writer who on paper looked like everything we were looking for. And we always go through a writing process, a writing sample, if you will, when we hire any writers or help companies do so. And even as the AI expert here, I personally did not notice if that writing sample was generated by a human or by, ChatGPT or whatever tool of choice. We're not at a state where we can easily just say, this is AI generated, this is not. I think we all like to think that we can, when we look online and we see those bland blogs or those bland web pages, what have you. It's easy for us today in 2024 to be like, oh, they probably just used AI for that. But we're just kind of guessing, right? And that guesswork can get us in a little bit of trouble, because what happened with this client is they hired this individual, and then what they noticed is his skill set was not there. And as his trainer, who was building a meaningful relationship with him, he did let me know that he had been leaning really heavily on AI. And that's not going to cut it. It's just not. For anybody who's listening to this or watching this, if you've used AI yourself, I would be stunned to hear you say, okay, yeah, I use AI for all of my writing. I don't actually have to touch it. I ask it to create the thing, and then I'm ready to publish it. We're not there yet. And I don't know if we ever truly will be. Having that human in the loop is just so important, not only in the business writing world, your brand voice, your tone, everything that you personally want for your business, you want represented in your writing. And AI is just not there yet that we can just, click a button and say, good to go. We really have to have that human element in the loop. So I unfortunately have a feeling we're going to continue to see more stuff like this come through the pipeline.
And that's a really interesting story, because this individual, relied heavily on AI, but it sounds like if they got to the point they were at, they were pretty decent at knowing how to use AI for them. So they weren't just like pushing buttons. They were probably doing a little bit, enough to kind of sneak through.
Yep.
But even with knowing how to use AI, it doesn't necessarily replace those hard skills in content writing that individual did not have. And then it came to light later that that's what was needed. So that's actually a really interesting story. What if a business is, they're trying to keep their budget lean, especially in economic times that could be tough, and they see AI as a way that is a little bit cheaper to get the same content they need? How would you kind of address that?
I think that's the question that we want to be more focused on I don't want to say in the future, because who knows, AI changes so quickly, but right now in the present, that's a question that I think about more, because people are going to use AI. I mean, it's going to happen, right? So we can't be blind to that. So the question is, how do we want them to use it? And are we being upfront about how we expect them to use it if we are going to hire them? So as a company, have we gone through what is our AI plan? What is our AI implementation plan? And really, Austin, when we say AI implementation plan, we're talking what's your tech plan, right? This is here. It's not going away. It's just like when the internet, came upon us, we weren't blind to it. And if we didn't have it today, oh man, what a different world we'd be in. So what are our expectations, and are we being upfront about them right away? Are we letting our employees, candidates, if you will, know what tools are acceptable to use and in what capacity? So when we say, I don't want to hire a full-time writer, well, in the year of 2024, and if we reflect on 2023, short form video is such a big deal, and it's going to continue to be a big deal. So when we talk about the marketing roles or the content creator roles, we have two: videographer and content writer. And unfortunately, and I'm sure you know this to be true as a videographer yourself, video generally gets a little less attention, and the written content gets a little more attention, especially in the world of SEO. But what we're seeing with user behavior is that short form content is getting more engagement, it's getting more clicks. So when we talk about how can I save money if I need to be lean, I would say, instead of looking at two roles, could that be one role? It's a very different scenario to say, instead of hiring any human, I'm only going to have AI do it. I would not recommend that. But as we continue and learn more about AI, I do see this as a potential to be one role. And I'll reference one of Marcus Sheridan's recent LinkedIn posts. He talked about, just kind of like brainstorming on LinkedIn, if you will, his big three for 2024. And the first one on his list of his big three were get a creative. So not a videographer, not a writer, but get a creative that is really good at storytelling, not only in the written form, but in the short form as well. Because, and you do this as well with your video content, can we utilize tools like Opus Clip, video, insert many other tools here that we can say, hey, I've got an interview with a subject matter expert that I'm going to use to create a blog. But can I be multiplying my efforts and say, okay, great, I've got this written content, but did I record that interview? And can I chop that up into small bits to be shared on socials, to be shared, hopefully that SME can share it on their socials as well, but also to be embedded within our website, within our blogs, and YouTube, to share it out on YouTube. Because there's such a missed opportunity with just written content. Let's start getting some video in there. And the other two of the big three that he shared, Austin, is the second one, which I think may ruffle a few feathers, is make sure this individual is at least a decent writer. And so while I don't want to take Marcus's words out of his mouth, what I'm guessing he meant by that is, if we want to have both, we can't ignore that skill of writing, because that really is a skill that many people go to college for, right? We build our life's career on it. And so we don't want to minimize the importance of, you've got to have some skill in the way of writing, right?
Yeah. And like you said earlier, it shows if you don't have that.
Oh, it totally does. And it even, that old trick of, you feel silly when you do it, but read your blog out loud before you press publish. I just wish that every writer in the world would start implementing that, even if they're not a great writer. That alone, you feel like a complete silly person doing it, talking to yourself in the middle of the office, but it works. Actually reading it back, because that's when you hear, does this actually sound like something someone would say, right? Or does it sound a little robotic, which obviously we want to avoid. But then the last thing, Austin, in the big three is being willing to dive headfirst into AI. And that, I think, is arguably one of the biggest things that we should be looking for in terms of being lean as business owners. Where are our creatives who know today's technology is not the same as tomorrow's technology? And are they hungry and willing to go after it? because those are the people that we want on staff as our creators versus videographer or writer. What are we doing to kind of start to let those two mold into one?
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. And it sounds like, so if you're in a marketing role where you're doing video or copy, one of these things, what's something you can kind of do to start getting on that journey to become that creative that can kind of do all these different things?
Yeah, I would suggest, I feel like I always suggest this, but it's because it really is so simplistic and moves the needle in terms of your AI skill set, is to find a minimum of 1 hour a week that you can turn all your other things off. And I really mean it, like turn Slack off, turn your email off, put your phone in another room, but you can just focus on, all right, my personal role, where does AI fit into the mix? So let's say I am somebody who I either favor video in terms of my skill set or writing, and I want to find a happy medium of both. Well, if I'm a writer and I may be listening to this podcast and I'm thinking, oh man, do I just finally got to do it? Do I got to start learning about video? Yes, you do. You do. And you deserve it. You deserve it for yourself, for your own skill set, to enhance your skill set so that not only you can be more knowledgeable, but you can be more attractive to the company that you're with or any future companies that you are going to be with in the future, right? Mm-hmm. So can you set aside time and really think through, could I, record my SME interviews? What would that look like if I used one of those tools that Briana and Austin are talking about? Set aside time to practice it, get the clunkiness out of the way so you can actually start incorporating short form video. And on the videographer side, can you use some of those transcription tools and see what types of skills do you have right now as it sits in the way of blog writing? Mm-hmm. And where are the gaps? What do you need to learn, to enhance your writing skills? In addition, combined with AI, right? But actually taking intentional time to sit down and let yourself actually think and play and really feel everything out to figure out how you're going to make this work for you.
Awesome. I love that. Yeah, the world is changing, but that kind of gives a game plan for earlier questions, what we talk about for business owners, and then for those marketing practitioners as well. So I think that gives us, like I said, a good place to start and prepare for the future. So thanks for bringing all of your knowledge today, and we're excited to see you on the next one.
Yeah, thanks, Austin.
AI is changing marketing as we know it. And when it's used correctly, it can help us create content faster and cheaper. But as we learned today, you still have to have someone with those hard skills in place to really maximize the output. If you and your business need help integrating AI into your marketing strategy, contact us at impactplus.com today to start working with coaches and trainers just like Briana.